Rise Danganronpa.
Hello and welcome to the second part of The Rise of Danganronpa. Wait, you haven't listened to the first part? Bro, that's kind of cringe. Go back and listen to the first part.
Go back. What are you doing
Come on,
here?
Pooh.
What are you doing here?
Who are you? And if you have listened to the first part, just listen to it again.
Yeah.
There's some bits you might have missed, such as this. This thing would be uncomfortable, right?
Yeah,
You would have got that if you hadn't listened to
That's
that.
a secret. Go to 37 minutes in. 37 seconds.
Then play it backwards at half speed.
Yeah, and then you'll
know. But basically, last time we covered Danganronpa 1.
Yeah.
This is a podcast series in two halves. So this is the Rise of Danganronpa, and then I guess you could probably guess what the next part's going to be called. It's going to be called the Fall of Danganronpa, where we're going to be talking about the second half of the series. Don't think too much about that now, because we're still forming our opinions on that. We're still writing what we think about 3 and V3.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to be talking about positive things, and we're going to be talking about Danganronpa 2, and this is the Rise of Danganronpa Part 2. Danganronpa 2.
Super Danganronpa.
Super Danganronpa 2. Goodbye.
Despair. The successor to the first game, and dare I say, it might even be a little bit better.
Those are big words.
Yeah, well, Danganronpa 2 is the fan favourite, if you don't know.
It's my favourite. Spoilers.
So I want to say it's my favourite, but okay, definitely when we do get to the Fall, we do need to discuss that. But before this podcast, it wasn't. I actually gave it to V3. Looking back on it, and talking to you very fondly about it, 2 might be the most flawless entry of the 3. I'd say. I'd probably say 2 is probably the best. Just in terms of everything, I think maybe cast, trials. Overall enjoyment with the characters, obviously. We'll talk about story, because I think that's the one aspect we hate more than the first game. But
that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Let's go into Danganronpa 2. Super Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, starts off with your new main character, Hajime, which we... You know what? Looking back now, we didn't talk much about Makoto. There's a reason why.
There's a reason for that.
Makoto. He was a very boring character.
The only, I think, just in case, just as an addendum to the first part, is the only part that I actually liked Makoto was right at the end where he stood up for himself, and that's kind of like what I like the character once. Yeah,
it's kind of one of those redemptions that does work with me, so I kind of do end out liking him more than I...
Yes.
I think it's one of those weird redemptions at the end. It's like, okay, sure, you can have this one. And it's one of those times where I leave more positive on the character than I started out.
Insert that video of Paulie going, I gotta get into 2 Family Guy.
That's just like for
Texas
Danganronpa.
Hey, Danganronpa.
You're lucky I got a man of gut in the oven, or I'd bash your face into a bolognese. That's 2 kinds of food. That's how angry I am.
But other than that, we've got a new character, Hajime, who is an improvement on Makoto in pretty much every aspect. He's definitely a lot more of an interesting character.
He starts off with a personality.
And he's borderline an arsehole. He's definitely a more judgmental character.
Yes. Which actually initially turned me off the character a little bit, in a way that's different to Makoto. Because my thing was, it's kind of like, ooh, it's kind of weird that you're starting out the gate. You're being a party pooper when everyone's like, we're having a fantastic time. Because in contrast to Danganronpa 1, which basically immediately opens up to you in a school and Monokuma revealing himself, Danganronpa 2 has more of a well, actually, I'm your, you meet Usami, who is a more of a, I guess she's a nice person. Like, oh, we're taking you on as a bonding experience on this school trip to.
She's a rabbit too.
She's a rabbit too instead of a bear. Like, well, rabbit's not bear, so therefore rabbit is nice. And she's trying to be nice, but she won't answer certain questions. And Hajime's he's quite I guess what's the word? He's quite suspicious of this. He's like, this is weird. Everyone's just like, let's have a good time. Doesn't matter. We're on a beach, whatever. And Hajime's like, nah, something's weird.
It's this
Oh, also, I just wanted to quickly show you the... Oh, the art they use. What's up with his face? He looks weird. Anyway,
zoom into his face as we say this. Get that picture. It's interesting because I'd actually say this might be more of a me just speculating, but Danganronpa 1 and 2 feel like kind of opposites of each other at the beginning. I feel like Danganronpa 1 starts, everyone's kind of wary of each other.
Yes.
Danganronpa 2 pretty much starts off as everyone being quite friendly to each other.
The only one who isn't is Hajime.
Yeah. It splits off as it goes on after that prologue.
Yes, it does, yes.
But at the beginning, everyone pretty much likes each other.
You're right, yes.
Whereas at the beginning of Danganronpa 1, everyone was quite wary of each other. Which is more realistic, to be fair. I think it's weird how friendly they are at the beginning of Danganronpa 2.
Well, you could attribute that to the fact that the way it's set up is kind of like, oh, we're all in this one classroom together. Do you remember how you got there? Oh, not really, but it made like you fill in the blanks, and then it's like, well, guess what? We're on class holiday, and everyone's like, oh man, holiday, first day of class, that's cool.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas Danganronpa 2 is more like, wait, I blacked out. Did any of you black out? Yeah, we blacked out. Yeah, that is weird. Anyway,
Danganronpa 2's date simulator beginning prologue is it was a very good bait and switch. I like it. Obviously, it's not going to stay like a nice peaceful simulator, but because Monokuma's going to come back. But it's a nice. I love that fake intro they do.
Yes,
before the real one.
Yeah.
It makes the prologues. It gives the running gag of the prologues getting longer and longer. But I think Danganronpa 2 might be my favorite prologue of the three.
Actually, the first time I saw that intro, because the thing is the games have like an intro that play before you start the game, which shows you like all the main characters, and they do like this fake intro for the second game where it has it's like a more upbeat tune.
Yeah, this is like that stupid like music. Yeah,
and it's it like shows all the characters having fun, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's weird, and then like Usami kind of like hint maybe we should have like a pool party, so like for your first day here, so everyone go and get your swimming costumes on, we're gonna go and swim. And Hajime's like, nah, this is weird, I don't fancy doing this. He sits out and everyone basically calls him a party pooper for doing it. It's like, fine, I will do it. And the second he decides to do it, guess who shows up?
It's your boy
Monokuma, who's like, haha, idiots, you've had it too good for too long, let's spice things up. And then he plays the real intro.
Yeah, I think it's one of I love the entire prologue section. Again, I think it does a better job of introducing the characters, because unlike the first game, they're all in a room and you're just talking to all of them 4 at a time, I think. Danganronpa 2 makes you explore the island, and you meet characters in different locations, and I think you get a better gist of their personality straight away.
It also gives you a good sense of scale of the game, because you kind of realise, oh, there's more than just this one area. You're going to be going and exploring.
And the beach setting is a nice change of pace, isn't it?
No, yes, I agree. I this is no secret, but
we said in the last one,
I have a huge soft spot for tropical areas.
Me too.
Specifically Polynesian areas. I think the whole wooden structures and are fantastic. I love them so much, and this game goes for that kind of aesthetic.
It's a shame they regress by the next one.
Yeah, but it's really nice. I really like the tropical setting. I really like the architecture of the island as well. It's a really nice place just to be. I also like that they redid some tracks to make them more tropical in order to fit in with that whole.
No, Danganronpa 2's setting is fantastic. I love the beach setting. I think it opens up to the possibility of murders as well. I think there's a lot more you can do on the beach setting. But no, it's not just a beach though. You go to a theme park. You go to like a saloon. You go to all these it's not constricted by the beach setting. Whereas
No.
the secondary school in the first game, there's some out there areas, but it's it's like a science lab.
It's nothing out of the ordinary. Whereas this is like there's an airport, supermarket. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot more interesting, and it opens up the amount of ways characters can kill each other. And I do think that Danganronpa 2 saying is a lot better. I think Danganronpa 2 gets off to a better start. I think Danganronpa 2's stakes are a lot higher straight away.
Yes.
Because Monokuma gets like these 5 robots that can just shoot you.
The mono beasts.
Yeah, and he even kills Usami at the beginning, but it's all right because she comes back. But after that, he changes her name to Usagi, doesn't he? Monomi. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, Monomi, and he puts her in a nappy.
Yes, which we all clapped. Come on, if you
it's
didn't clap, you're lying.
It's a better design. I like it a lot more.
But it pretends that he's her big brother.
Yeah, that prologue is really good. I'd even say it's better than the first.
It does a very good way of making you suspicious of Usami up until she's changed into Monomi, and then that kind of makes you relax on her a little bit. And actually, I'm not sure if this is just you, but at the beginning, they write her to be kind of like an annoying character, and I assumed that I was not going to like her, and she was designed that way. But without jumping too far ahead, actually, I ended up liking her as a game.
I like her too.
Yeah.
I think that she's... You could have had Monokuma as the only stuffed animal on the island, and that would have been fine. But Monomi is a nice contrast to his personality, and she is... I don't want to say moral compass because she's too on the good side, but it's just entertaining. Their dynamic is really good, and because he abuses the poor thing, and but he gets played off for laughs, and you can't help but laugh at stuff like that, and it's a shame, but she's a good character. I like Monomi a lot. And then that's really the prologue ends with, you're stuck on the island again, but they host a little awards show, don't they?
Yes.
And Monokuma says straight away that their memories have already been erased.
Yeah, so the thing that was a huge plot point in the first game, which we mocked, ended up being a joke at the start of the second game.
Yeah, he says, why wait the entire game for a stupid plot twist like that, which is gonna sound really ironic in like an hour or so.
Once they reveal the plot twist,
once they reveal that stupid plot.
That's the thing. I think I will point back to this later, but it feels weird that the game is making fun of how stupid that plot point is for the first game,
but
when it does something far worse.
And it's it's kind of like, it's like when you play Duke Nukem Forever and he's like, pipe puzzles, I hate pipe puzzles, but then they force you to do it anyway. It's well, alright.
Saying something stupid but then doing it is, well, it's still stupid.
Yeah. I remember that plot twist in Danganronpa 1 was our most lenient on it, so when we get to this.
Yeah.
But Chapter 1. Again, I would say an overall improvement over Danganronpa 1's Chapter 1. It's already more complex straight away. And let's focus on the characters it focuses on in Chapter 1. And to be fair, I think we should get him out of the way now, because we're probably going to talk about him throughout the entire game. Nagato Komaeda. At this point in the game, he is just your nice, friendly character. What did you think about Nagato Komaeda?
What I thought it was weird was the fact that we're on a tropical island and he's wearing a coat.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not hot there, buddy. You wanna take that off? Or?
He's the ultimate lucky student, which was Makoto's in the first game.
Yes, it was. Yes.
And I didn't think much of Nagato Komaeda at the beginning.
Honestly, neither did. Obviously, I was aware of the memes and that he reached memehood, but I didn't really know why. So I was kind of like, okay, I don't really see what people see in him at the beginning, which is what they're going for.
Yeah, we'll get more into it later, and I'm positive Nagato Komaeda, unlike the first game where we isolate, I'm sure we're going to talk about Nagato Komaeda a lot.
I'm sure, yes. Because unlike the first game, I say this one kind of has more clear-cut
characters. That's 3 main characters.
I was going to say borderline villains.
Yeah,
because the first game, people are just people. In this one, Nagato, and other people are quite prominent in how like antagonistic they can be towards you, obviously without getting too far into it.
So they decide, since it's their first day there or whatever after the awards show, they're a bit scared about the death game thing obviously coming back, but they're trying to make the best out of a bad situation. They decide to have a little party. It's going to go fine. We're not going to kill each other.
You know who organises the party?
Who organises it?
Byakuya Togumi.
Oh yeah, he returns.
He returns.
And he's put on a few.
Yeah.
He's put on a few pounds.
I'd say a few is being kind.
It's being kind. His noises when he walks away are just stomp.
Yeah, because every character has like a... No, they all use the same like walking sound when characters run away.
Yeah.
For him, it's like...
It's really funny. Play the sound.
Play it.
Yeah.
Play it again.
I think that he's a good. I really like Byakuya Togumi in this. I think he's again very entertaining. It feels like. Would you say it feels like a progression from how he was at the end of the first game, or?
Well, see, that's the thing. Is I actually didn't think it was him. Not just because of the appearance, but because he was instantly like nice. But then was like, oh wait, no, I've got to be mean. Brrr. So I was like, you're not him, are you? But the game is trying to make you think it is him.
Do we mention the sad spoilers?
Well, they should have listened to part 1.
Yeah, well, we haven't killed anyone, to be fair. Yeah, we haven't talked about anyone's death, so spoilers from here on out.
Spoilers from here on out.
So let's just talk about... Let's get out of the way, because it's not a plot point later for some reason. That's not the real Byakuya Togumi.
No, it's weird. The fact that
They
bring
just
it back and then he's just... Yeah.
I think it's just a gag.
Yeah. And then, because when you do find out, like, Hajime's like, oh, that's not Byakuya. Anyway.
Yeah, it's played like, such a nothing thing.
Yeah.
It's funny though.
It is funny, yes.
So,
and just as a nice little thing, there's the picture. There's a picture of from the first game Byakuya sitting on a throne. Yeah. In the second one, they edited so he's holding a bucket of chicken. Yeah, it's really funny.
I do like Fat Byakuya a lot,
as we refer to him as Byakuya.
Byakuya, yeah. So he's just the ultimate prodigy student again, but it's really the ultimate imposter. Who is probably, because they're imitating Byakuya Togumi, probably the most underdeveloped character in the entire franchise.
I agree.
Because there's just nothing... We don't know anything about the Ultimate Imposter. I don't mind, because I really like their imitation of Byakuya, but whatever. A genuinely good person, too.
Yeah, right?
Like, all he wanted to do was, like, save everyone's, like, lives and, like, have no killing happen. But, the party happens, and that's when you see a lot of nice things, like the characters are having a good time. But then the lights go out, don't they? And we find out that our boy Byakuya Togumi is dead, and he was murdered in. But the thing is, the room was filled with everyone there, so it had to be somebody in the room that killed him. But they would have had to see in the dark. So it's quite an interesting first chapter straight away. Way more complicated than the first chapter of the first game.
The great thing about the first chapter for this one is it sets up a lot of things beforehand that could have led to.
Yeah.
So if you remember correctly, they're like, oh, this room is disgusting. Because Monmi wouldn't let you in because it was unsafe. But they're like, no, we'll clean it up for you. And they draw the straws to see who can go and clean it and who should draw the short straw. But
Nagata Commander.
Yes, and he decides to go and clean it up. And then, of course, you need a chef for a party. So instantly, that's like, you've got those two people who have been in the building all day. So that puts them on the list as suspects. And then as you go through the party, you kind of like, you hear things, oh, certain things are missing off this list, and it's things like a knife and a skewer and things like that. Yeah. Okay, well, that could mean that those might have been taken by someone. And there's this long list of things, and you end up by the end having a list of like 4 or 5 genuinely good people, because the assassin lady gets trapped in the toilet.
Yeah, so she's considered a,
2 people are stuck outside, which is Monami and Chiaki, and someone else had to go home for some reason.
The mafia guy, wasn't it?
No,
he just didn't.
He just didn't turn up. You're right. Yeah, so that gives you a list of like 5 or 6 very good suspects that very easily could have been any of them. So but there are one or two things that do like kind of narrow that list down. And for me, it was the one that the fact that one of the skewers was missing. That was the one that made me think, because when you hear how he was killed, and they put a huge emphasis on how big the weapon was that was used. I was like, well, then it's got to be this, which means it's either this person or that person.
Yes.
So they do, although they're the list of suspects is probably one of the longest in the series, it is also one of the easiest to narrow down. It's a very good, dare I say, beginner's trial, because it's although there's a lot to it, it does a good job in conveying who it's more likely to be.
I would probably say it's the best first chapter of the series.
I might say it's probably the best not in terms of dialogue, but in terms of the setup and the execution. Is probably the best written chapter in any of the games.
Yes, I think that. I mean, it's just a fun time.
It's
That's again,
time too.
You've got the majority of the characters are alive at that point. So again, which is what I always like about those first chapters. I don't know if anyone else thinks like this, but I like more characters in the game. So as the game goes on, it dwindles down the cast, and all you really have to look forward to that point is specifically the chapters, because the character interactions eventually are going to go lower and lower, and you might be left with characters you don't like or characters you really like. And so the amount of character interactions are going to go less as the series goes on.
Yes.
As the games go on. And that's why I like those first chapters, because you get to see all those unique interactions between all the characters. And as it goes on, it's just I think it's a very well written first chapter. It's definitely my favourite of the trilogy, and for first chapters. And the killer is the chef, which I think it's another good bait and switch, because I don't think anyone would look at that character and go murderer, because he's quite a goofy looking character. You think he'd be a victim before he was a murderer, surely. But I think it's quite I think it was quite good. I think his motivation for doing it is selfless, but at the same time, me and you, the ultimate chef, we didn't like his character.
No, I think this is a theme as well. We don't tend to like perfect characters.
No, not really.
And yeah,
that's all his character was.
That's what his character was. But then you find out there's a deep background, so I don't care.
He just wanted to see his mom.
Yeah, they throw it on you quite late in the day, and it's like, you built him up this way.
You tried
to quickly want me to care.
You tried to trick Sonya to suck you off, dude.
Yeah,
after that point, I've got no sympathy for your character.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a co thing. He didn't do it by himself, really. Nagato helped. Well, Nagato helped cover it up, but really the chef did it to kill. He was trying to kill Nagato, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, because he thought Nagato was going to kill someone.
But Nagato was trying to help him out in the trial to cover him up. But after a while, he stopped doing it, because in that trial, Nagato goes through the character shift. I guess he was holding back how he really was. And Nagato Kamada is a very interesting character in terms of how he's written. But, again, me and you really don't like him. So, do you want to elaborate on why you don't like the character?
I think... Okay, so I guess his character type is supposed to be what if Makoto was taken to the extreme in terms of, like...
The hope thing.
The hope thing. And it's kind of like to the point where it's in your face too much. And a lot of people latch onto him because
he's probably the most popular character in the series. Outside of maybe Monokuma.
Yeah, maybe even more so.
You see him in memes.
Yeah, exactly.
And you, who never saw that series, saw him in a meme. So.
No, exactly, yeah. So it's kind of like it feels weird that I don't know. It kind of just it feels weird to me that there's this character who just it's the same thing every time you see him. It's like, oh, how's it going with you? Oh, I'm feeling despair, and the audience claps because he said the thing. It's just like, I think he's kind of like I guess he kind of feels more boring to me. There are more interesting characters in that cast.
I find him quite obnoxious.
Yeah, sure.
I hate the self-loathing aspect of his character because you just don't care.
Yeah, it comes off as a bit...
I hate the fact that so many people latch onto this guy.
It's more like he feels like he's just fishing for like, oh, I feel bad about myself. Yeah? So?
Go away.
Leave me alone.
What's nice about that game, though, is a little bait and switch thing. If you don't hang out with him pre his character change, you can't hang out with him for the rest of the game.
Really?
Yeah, because you need to get his first crystal thing which is pre his character change.
I think
So it just locks you off.
If I remember, I think I did, because the game kind of like when the first free time happens is you're there with him, so I think I did it just because he was there.
The thing is, yeah, because my sister played it and she had no interest in his character until the character changed, and then when she wanted to hang out with him, it's just like, oh, you can't hang out with him. Sorry. It's funny. I will give the creators that, because he's written boring on purpose at the beginning, and that is going to turn a lot of people off wanting to hang out with him. But then when he becomes quote unquote interesting, that's when they go, oh, you should have hung out with him before. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it is kind of. I don't know. I don't really understand why people like him, but I understand why people like what he does later on, because I think...
I mean, I can understand why people like his character, knowing internet culture.
Ooh, called out.
It's a very like I don't want to... We keep relying on the word quirky, but he's a very zany, out there character, isn't he? And Danganronpa characters are meant to be. Maybe we're being hypocritical by saying we don't like this weird character when we latch onto another weird character, but each character is... And let's not be around the bush. Each character is meant to pander to someone.
No, exactly.
And unfortunately, like, let's not be... I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. He just doesn't pander to me. So I guess that's why I don't like him.
You know, but it's... and yeah, I think, you know, we're big enough people to admit that. We're big enough people to admit that there are things out there that we don't like. But I think he's one of those ones that we both mutually don't like. Do we know anyone who does?
Yeah, my sister likes him.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think we need to talk to the one on the Discord about his opinion. But I know.
He who shall not be named.
I know the one that studied politics a few years back. I think did, yeah. So
fair.
In our group, it's probably 50-50.
Yeah. Okay. It's just one of the ones where I actually didn't think too much about him until I heard you really didn't like him. I was like, oh, okay.
I hate his character.
Sure.
I hated him more back in the day, because I played this game when it first got its Western release. And I despised him back then. I hated his character. I thought he was so obnoxious. I've calmed down a bit on him since. I think there's worse characters in that series. But... And I can understand. If you said he was a necessary evil for the game's story, sure, I'll give him that. I'm not the sort of person that despite my bias, conflict's needed, right? And he's the only big conflicting character in that cast. So besides like the mafia guy, but that changes after like chapter 2. So what can you do? I don't like him, but. Would you at least give him necessary evil?
Sure. I think he does lead the cast to do interesting things, and I do actually like him.
He serves as like a secondary antagonist.
Yeah, and I do like that, because he does go behind like the rest of the cast back and goes and says things to Monokuma and stuff like that.
But the thing is, and going into the game's overall theme, I hate the hope versus despair as a theme, because in that first game it was only in that last trial, and it was like, alright, whatever, you didn't think of it. In that second game, it has to be this big thing about hope versus despair.
I think
it's so obnoxious.
It gets way into your face towards the end, and I think that's probably why we don't like him too much, because he's the catalyst for the this is it, yes or no, black and white, that's it. There's no other alternatives between hope and despair, and it's kind of like...
He's probably the character we're going to... And that's the thing, this is probably going to be a part 1 rant on him, because we're probably going to come back to this stupid character. when we talk about V3 eventually, we're going to bring up Nagato Kamida again. Sure. So as much as we don't like him, he's memorable.
Sure,
He's probably, for the wrong reasons, besides Monokuma, he'll stay in my head probably more than the rest of these characters will. For the wrong reasons, because he's too much of a... He is a meme, to be fair.
Yes.
And it's just like, alright, I hate the fact I remember this guy, but I'll give it this. He's memorable, but then so is the movie Freddy Got Fingered. I don't think that's a good movie either. So, all because something's memorable doesn't make it good. And that is Nagato Kamida, in my opinion. So, anyway, that was just a little rant on him going into chapter 2.
Yeah, so I like the fact that the rest of the cast see him as a threat. and so they decide to bind and gag him and throw him.
Yeah, that's funny.
And there's a scene later on where I can't actually remember where this happens. I just remember the scene, but they bring him in to ask him a question, and there are a couple of people like, "Oh, we should just beat him up now." And Hajime's like, "Wait, no. We should hear him out. What does he have to say?" And he says the thing, and Hajime goes, "Nah, beat him up." Yeah, that was the turning point for me on Hajime. That turned him from the you're kind of a party pooper into I really like you a lot, because it was the hold on, wait, let's be fair. Nah, forget that.
Yeah,
having a character that's almost rebelling against what the player is thinking.
He's the only main character. He's the only main character like that too.
He is, yes, and I think that not by default makes him the best, but considering the other main characters, I think just does make him the most interesting of the three. Because there are scenes where Hajime will say things that like you don't agree with, just because he's like, this is what I think. He's
a more interesting character to get in the head of. I think stuff like I always thought having an audience character was always an overrated concept anyway. So.
Yes, because it would be fair to say that the protagonists of the first and third game are very, dare I say, like blank slatey, in which it's more of a you are left to.
This is you. You're the person.
Yes, whereas in this game, Hajime is very much a character in the game itself.
Pretty much, yeah. And he has, unique interactions with every character in that game. So
not necessarily saying that one way is better than the other, but it's kind of like I think for me, I latch on to Hajime more.
Same. Actually, I remember back in the day I didn't like his character that much, but I definitely grew to appreciate it. My initial problem with him back in the day was that he was very judgy. I was like, oh, he's very judgmental. Then again, I put myself in his shoes. I would be too, to be fair. Everyone here is an arsehole.
He was the most judgmental one of them all, to be fair. I remember he was the party people.
It's a very human thing to do, though.
Yes,
and I think that if anything, that makes him more... Weirdly enough, the audience catalyst that is Makoto is less relatable, even though he's written as an audience character. Whereas Hajime comes off as like, yeah, I'm probably feeling the same. I understand why he's like this. Yeah, obviously, the party pooper thing, I can understand. Maybe it's a bit of a... a bit upsetting, but so they tie him up, Nagato Kamada, and he's like, feed me. And Hajime doesn't, which is funny. And then we get into
that feed me scene was weird, by the way.
Yeah. We get into the motivation for this chapter, where Monokuma comes in and he's like, sup guys, there's a video game cabinet. See ya. And he just leaves. All he says is there's a video game thing you can play, a little arcade machine, and he just goes away.
And Chiaki,
that's all he leaves.
Chiaki, who's a character we actually haven't talked about much, but I initially didn't like her because I thought she was going to be... I don't think much either. I initially also didn't care that much for Kyoko in the first game, but that turned around the later we went on it, because I was like, I see what they're going for. Similar thing happened with Chiaki, where at the beginning I wasn't too interested because it seemed like she was going for the the honor
gamer.
She's going for the
she's waifu bait.
The ditzy kind of like. Yeah. She's not really aware of her surroundings. So she
comes off the most in that game to me as waifu bait.
Sure.
Very much so. Like, oh, she's cute. She's a gamer. You'll like her, players. But she's a very likable character.
No, she comes, and it's the once again the classic switcheroo where I'm like, Danganronpa, why must you do this? Oh wait, you were playing me all along.
Every game has its second character who it typically tends to be female. It's Kirigiri in the first one, Chiaki in the second one. I assume the third one's supposed to be Maki, but I'm not too sure.
I thought it was Kaito.
Maybe it could be Kaito, yeah. Well, I mean, if we're going for like smart character, let's even be Maki, because Kaito's an idiot.
Yeah, but Kaito does the same thing Kirigiri did, where it's like, oh, well, we all know the answer. You tell us the answer. And Maki does it like Kaito does it like verbatim. Like, yeah, we all know. I know. And someone goes, no, you don't. He goes, shut up.
Yeah, when he does he'll answer it because he's an idiot. Yeah. Whereas when Kirigiri and Chiaki do it, it's because they're being arseholes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, I don't know, actually. How about you say if you know so much?
But no, there's a game cabinet. Go and play this awesome game.
And that gets Chiaki excited. And for me, I don't know who you prefer, I think of all the second characters, I think Chiaki's my favorite.
She's probably my favorite, yeah.
Yeah, I think. And to be fair, let's go with the popularity and the fan base thing. To me, from what I see, she is the most popular female character in the series.
But I'm going to say we like it for the right reasons. Yeah, like for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons.
Pretty much.
Believe us, please.
She is the most popular. I think that second game has just the most popular cast overall.
It probably does. Each character is at least unique in its own ways, and although even the ones we don't like, I can see why they like.
What else? She goes and plays it, and blah blah. I don't know if she actually plays. I forget, but it's one of these ones where it's specifically aimed at one person.
Yes.
But and the characters go swimming. That's when we get introduced to the engineer's worst trait, and Soda Kazukichi or something like that.
Kazuichi, yeah.
And I
no, the other way around.
Kazukichi Soda. I have a big issue with this character. I think he's such a stupid character. It feels like they're going for the Yasuhiro thing, where it's like he's comic relief, but he just comes off as pathetic.
No, the thing with comic reliefs is they have to be funny.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, right. And all he does is a one character trait, besides the fact he's dumb, despite the fact he's an engineer. So he has a good talent, but he's just, I don't know. Despite the fact he's dumb, he also has a huge crush on Sonya, and that's all he has going for him. And I think he's such an obnoxious, unlikable character.
Do your dingo impression.
Which one?
Underground.
Sonya.
Yeah.
That's a reference like 3 people will get.
If I don't see you until the next time Mobadun shows up in our world, it'll be way too soon. Sucker.
It's Sleet and Dingo.
Sleet and Dingo, yeah.
that's like Sleet's voice. Yeah, he has a really weird voice. Sonya. I don't like Soda at all. I think he's a stupid character. What's your opinion?
I don't like him either.
Yeah.
I also don't like Sonya either, so...
Yeah, I guess we should talk about Sonya too.
Do we have to? Sonya is basically Hifumi too.
In what sense?
In terms of they both have a very big interest in, almost obsessive interest in, like, TV shows and, you know...
They just quote it?
You know, all they do is bring it up. Oh, and it's like in episode 4,000 of this show, and Hajime just kind of goes like, what?
Sonya is another character I see really popular, but it definitely seems
because she's a girl who's a nerd.
Yeah, I think it's it's coming from definitely like the Step on Me community.
Not mincing words at all. Just, you know.
It's definitely, and that's fine if you're into that, but that's the only reason I see people like Sonya.
The reason why I brand her as Hifumi too is because they both have the same hobby, where it's like watching stupid.
Yeah,
TV
but it's
shows.
Okay with Sonya because she's a girl and Hifumi's a guy, an ugly one at that.
Sure, but they're both as obsessive.
Yeah, but that's people's rationale with it though.
But I don't get it. They're both kind of like unlikable.
Is there a case in this where she's ever even the focus?
I don't think so.
I think her knowledge comes into fruition most in this chapter because she knows the serial killer they're talking about.
Because they bait Genocide Jack again, but then that is like a red. Like obviously it's a there for those who have played the first game kind of a thing. But then obviously that goes nowhere because Genocide Jack isn't in this game. But.
Yeah, she's Sonya. She's the ultimate princess.
Which, by the way, is kind of like a weird
talent,
title.
Apparently, yeah.
Or it's the same from the which one is it? Shit, I can't remember if it's from V3. There's one which is literally just like, I can't remember. There's one that's like ultimate, and then it's like something you can do.
Well, I mean, it's the mafia guy in this game is just ultimate like mafia.
At least someone takes skill.
I don't think so. I think he's just born into it.
Are you telling me that Tony Soprano is just naturally that good?
Well, he was raised into it. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously he had to take his position, but this guy, he's just born into it, right? So he doesn't lead a mafia.
No, but he's good at what he does, though.
Sure. I thought he was too young to do anything with it.
That's what they call him baby gangster, but no, apparently he has done stuff.
Okay, if he's done stuff, that's fine. It doesn't seem like it's implied that he's never murdered anyone.
This is really escaping me, but there is a character in either in 3 or in V3, where it's literally just like all they do is they just do some things from the show.
What do you think of because he's the mafia guy? We keep calling him the mafia guy. What's his name?
His name
It's escaping us.
Don't worry, his name doesn't have to escape you forever. Just think really hard. Really hard.
Fuyuhiko Kuzuru. Well, Fuyuhiko, let's say that. He's the mafia boss.
Yeah, exactly,
the mafia inherit guy, and he's we both quite like his character, I'd say.
I agree, yeah.
I think he has one of the best arcs in the game, where he starts out as an arsehole and then he becomes a good guy. Let's get back into that later, because I think that almost they had nothing for him after that. After he becomes a good guy, because he becomes a good guy by the end of this chapter 2, and I feel like after that they had nothing for him to do. Whilst we like his character, genuinely looking back on it, I forget he even survives the game.
You forgot his name.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good character. He's a likable character, but he's a forgettable character. He is most memorable in those first 2 chapters, and that's it.
Yes.
Because he's in the first one he's conflicting, and in the second one he's the main suspect, pretty much. And yeah, that's kind of just it. That's his character. Back to chapter 2. Why they weren't tempted to kill him off, I'm not sure, but we'll get into that later. The killer at the end of this ended up being Peko Pekoyama.
She was the ultimate swordsman. Yes.
What do you think of Peko? Kirigiri 2.
No. At least Kirigiri was useful.
Well, I mean, Peko was the killer of this chapter.
Yeah.
It's useful in some regard, right?
Sure.
She furthered this chapter along.
Okay.
She's a character.
Oh, these genuine points?
Yeah.
Oh. I really didn't think much of her, honestly.
She has no personality.
She doesn't, that's the thing.
She feels like an expansion. She feels like kind of like very similar to, at least personality wise, Kirigiri, but she's not as likable, because Kirigiri, the reason she's like that and closed off, you understand. If we didn't go into this, she's the ultimate detective, and she doesn't remember much about it, does she? So you can understand why she's as closed off as she is. Peko Pekoyama, she's closed off because she works for the Fuyuhiro, right? Fuyuhiko, and I think that's his name. And she's his personal weapon. Like his bodyguard, basically, and that's why she's like that.
I did find that dynamic interesting when you found out about it. I was like, so they got people who people who knew each other, which was quite.
But she doesn't live long enough for you to see that dynamic really go anywhere.
No, exactly, yeah.
And overall, despite if you don't care for her as a character, that's fine. I don't mind her. I think she's fine. I think she's good at what she. I think she served the purpose of this chapter well, so I definitely probably would put her in the thumbs up category, just for being effective at what she does. Is she memorable? Nah, not really. This isn't a character I see. I might be looking in the wrong places. I don't see many people latch onto her anyway. But from what I see, the characters that die in the first 2 chapters don't tend to get.
But I also think that it's quite, a thing that she actually, even when you do have the opportunity to spend time with her, she doesn't actually come out of her shell much anyway, or she's not, and if you're just playing the story, you barely see her anyway, so I think it's hard to connect to a character that you don't see that much.
So we're in a position where there's a character we don't see that much, who's already closed off, and she's a killer, and it's just like, okay, cool. That being said, what do you think about the trial of chapter 2? What do you think of the story going into it? What do you think of how the murder was done? What do you think of chapter 2 overall, Danganronpa 2?
I think chapter 2 is kind of forgettable. Unfortunately, it did kill off my favourite character at that point.
We forgot to talk about
who's Mahiru. She was the victim of this one, and she was my favourite character at that point, because she was kind of like...
The photographer.
Yes, she was kind of like pushing Hajime to kind of like stop being such a... like get out there and do stuff. So she was kind of like a catalyst for this. Unfortunately, she was also friends with my least favourite character, who is Hiyoko, who is the traditional dancer.
She's the main, she's the main suspect in this one, besides
Yes, she is.
Man, Danganronpa 2 really, it focuses on so many characters in one chapter. Compared to Danganronpa 1, we can't really talk about a few at a time. We have to talk about
five, 6. Yeah, so so I really liked her, and then she was killed.
See, I'm actually of the opposite. I didn't like her.
Really? Why not?
I see. It's interesting that you use the point as a positive. I thought the more you should act like this, I found obnoxious.
Oh, I didn't like the you should act like a man.
That's what I didn't like. To me, okay, it came off like, why are we forgiving of? You should act like a man. Why are we forgiving of like that kind of attitude?
It wasn't that specifically, but it was more of how she was like.
She's probably nice. Again, it's a character that didn't get full potential to really reach her. But the reason I didn't like her was because all the things I remember about her is that she just tells you off for not acting like a man, which I think is really rude. If we opposite shoot that, argument, it'd definitely come off as a lot worse. It comes off as a form of sexism. And it's definitely, if I was in that position, I was Hajime, I'd be like, shut up. Which unfortunately he never does, which I'm like, oh no. That's why I'm not big on her myself. But to be fair, I am in the minority on this one. I think everyone else we know likes her. So she's a nice character. Yeah. I'll give her that. But it's that aspect of that character I hated.
I do understand that point, but it was, and I also didn't care that much for that when she kept doing that. But also like the fact she was the kind of like the catalyst for getting people to be more. I'll nice with each other.
I'll definitely give her this. She was getting better before she died.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's what turned us.
And I think if she lived at the end of the game, I think I probably would have liked her, but it's because you get so little with her, and that's kind of the lasting impact I get with her. I'm like, alright, cool. I think Danganronpa 2 has a habit of killing characters off before they start becoming likable, but we'll get that into that later. So let's talk about Saionji. She's the small one, the little traditional dancer, which we both mutually hate. So that's cool.
It was the scene specifically in the prologue where she's sitting there squashing the bugs, and I'm like,
killing scene. I was like, this is what I know everything I need to know about your character. You look cute, but you're an asshole. Haha, quirky. It's like, shut up.
You've got to start putting a hashtag before that.
Yeah, but that's all. Isn't it not a coincidence that all the characters I don't like are just quirky?
The quirky ones,
yeah. And it's just like, all right,
being quirky is not a substitute for having a personality.
Yeah, and it's such a stupid.
I think people who are listening into this thinking, man, you guys are harsh. I think it's less that and more that we have quite.
We high like standards. This game more than the first one,
but it's more. I think we have quite high standards for what we like in a character, and if you're not delivering, we're not going to care.
We like this cast more than the first one, and we have done nothing but pretty much complain about half these characters. But I will say this: I think Danganronpa 2 is a combination of the best characters in the series and the worst.
I think that's why its cast is remembered so not necessarily fondly, but it's why it's remembered as well as it is because there are just as many positives for each character as there are negatives. So it's a very polarized.
As bad as the characters in Danganronpa 2 can be, they are memorable at least.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember every single one apart from Fuyuhiko. But it's kind of like it is a very very polarizing cast, and it's probably the one where most people kind of like side with one set of characters over the other, right?
Yeah, there's definitely Danganronpa 2, I think in our group has the biggest divide on who you should like, who you shouldn't.
3.
Nagato Kamaida's the big one because that's 50-50.
50-50, yeah.
And I mean V3, to be fair, I think for the most part, yeah, I think I'd probably say it's quite split too. But to be fair, with V3, you don't like most of the characters anyway, so that's true. Yeah. We'll get back into that at a later date. But with Danganronpa 2, the cast, I'd say it probably is the best cast in the series. But I will say this: okay, when I say best cast in the series, I'm talking about most memorable because in my opinion, V3 is probably the most consistent cast in the series. Yes. As in, there's none I outright hate, but there's very few I outright love. There are characters I love in V3, but it's definitely on the lower side, whereas in Danganronpa 2, there's quite a few I actually think quite highly of. It's just a coincidence we're not talking about them yet. For me, all my least favourite characters in Danganronpa 2 die in this first half of the game, so...
Same.
And some live. But let's go into Chapter 2 overall. You gonna give it a thumbs down?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It tries too hard to do the bait and switch multiple times. I did like the game as the motive. I think it's probably one of the most creative motives. But the game actually makes you play through like a Danganronpa-esque game to like and you watch like these scenes unfold. And it's like, oh, okay, and then you play it, and then it goes, wait, did you put in the secret code so you can play the missing days, and then you play the game again.
I think that game is really creepy. I don't like it.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say I think that's the point.
Yeah,
Is it the fact that no one has a name and you don't see anyone's face?
It's the music. I'm genuinely. I'm getting like. I'm not even like. I'm unironically getting shivers now. It's fine thinking about it. No face. The fact nobody has a name. The music as well.
The music is just a 16-bit remix.
Yeah,
of the song.
I think it's.
I really like it.
But it's a good song. I'm not going to deny. But it's creepy music regardless, and they're just 16-bitting it. So it's like, all right. It's so.
Oh, really? You think that song's creepy?
I didn't.
It's
a good song.
I really like it.
I think it's just a creepy.
I have it on my mobile device.
I find it really surreal. I don't I love it.
Really?
I love the thing. As in, I think it's great. But when I play it, I'm creeped out.
I never got that impression from it.
I think it's Danganronpa in general isn't a very creepy series. But I think this is, for me, the creepiest thing it does. Just because, again, it's the no face thing. They also have like real proportions too. Yeah. It's like, I don't like stuff like that. And
did you like that the murder scene was just like a photo?
Yeah,
that they put like ketchup on.
I don't know. I don't. It's funny again, but like looking back, and I remember when I first played that in my bed at night, and I was getting creeped out.
That's strange that you found that creepy.
There are two things in Danganronpa. There's two things in Danganronpa 2 I find creepy, and it's that, and whenever they count down how many characters live, for some reason they make it the scariest thing. Yeah, it's all like Danganronpa 1 and V3, not so much.
No, they don't. It's because in V3 they colour them green.
Yeah, Danganronpa 2 is just like creepy music. Wow, Danganronpa. It's like, No, but for the most part, it's like quite an uplifting, like dark comedy, and there's like these two moments. I'm like, I love the arcade machine for how creepy it is, but I find it really creepy.
That's weird. I never got that vibe from it.
It's just because of how surreal it is.
There is that too. It is a very surreal setting.
It's very out of the element of Danganronpa. And one of the scariest things for me, genuinely, is just something not being there. Like something that's there when it's not supposed to be there. Freaks me out more than anything.
I also think that I guess maybe this could be considered a contributing factor to it, but also the fact that you only get half the game and then you get the other half.
Yes, and it's the dialogue as well is very
it's
eerie.
Off. Yeah. It is off a little bit, yeah.
Oh, I'm just thinking about it. It makes me think of like those Korean like horror games that I won't touch. I'll admit I'll be a big enough man to admit that I don't touch stuff like that because it's not my style, and I get freaked out very easily by stuff like that. I'm getting freaked out just talking about it, so I think we should move on. Chapter 2. Overall, you know what? I'm more lenient on Chapter 2 than you. I don't think the problems in it are that big of an issue. To me, it's safe. That's how I see it.
So I think the motive and the setup is fine, but I think they try too hard to throw too many curveballs at you to the point where it kind of comes full circle and you can see who did it.
Sure.
Because it's the fact that the storage room is a mess, the suites are paper trail, the note, because there was a prize for beating the game, and it was like that notepad which told you exactly what the game was supposed to be representing, all that kind of things, where it kind of leads you to the answer, and then it throws you all those curveballs, and it's like, well, we already know the answer. So it's kind of like one of those ones where it comes, they throw so much stuff at you, it comes full circle, and it's straightforward. So I think it was either done intentionally or unintentionally. I'm going to say it was done unintentionally because it feels like they were trying to be too clever for their own good.
I like the way Hajime comes to the conclusion as he looks back at what character was wet. I think that was quite interesting. Yes. And actually, there is a difference. If you play it on easy mode, they actually flash back to all the characters. But if you play on normal or medium, or normal or hard, you have to kind of guess. So Pekka was swimming at the time. Yes. I think the easy mode one is that's way too like which one was what. But I do like the way it was solved. I like the way, honestly, Pekka got out of that situation where she used the sword as a way to jump out of the thing. Yes. I don't know. I overall like Chapter 2. It's safe, but I like it. I think it's all right. That's fair. So I guess we disagree on that. But,
sure.
But then again, we're probably going to disagree on Chapter 3 because that's the one I really hate.
I really like it for different reasons. But let's get into that later. So, Chapter 3 is... I don't think either of us like the motive for this one.
And the motive for this one's stupid because...
It doesn't make any sense.
Monokuma's characterization in this is more brutal than he is in the first one.
Yeah, because in the first game, he was a very hands-off approach. Like, I will give you a motive, and then I will go away and just see what happens. In this game, he's very, like, poking you to do something to the point where it comes off as uncharacteristic. So in this chapter, the motive is he's released something called the despair virus, which makes people behave like there's no hope left in the world. So they go to their extreme and they start acting.
They go to their extreme opposite.
Yeah, they're basically their extreme. What they'd act like if they would like fully despair.
To be fair, I think Nagato's one was quite funny.
I agree. Yes, yeah.
It's more likable than how he actually is.
But it's basically just like every character goes into this weird, like, you know, basically a completely different character, and it forces people to work around that, and then people have to work out like, wait, who came in contact with who? Because Monokuma says it spread through contact. So the group splits into two halves, where it's like this group touched, you know, has been touched by someone who has the virus, and this group hasn't. So that initially interested me because you now had like basically two sets of people you had to keep on track on.
And you're pretty much putting like you're pretty much in the part where you're quite hands on with the victims of it.
Yes, so you get put in that group,
and you get put with Mikan. What's her name? Mikan something, and.
Mikan Sumi.
And she's the nurse character, and I know you have a bone to pick with this character. You really don't like her.
I really don't like her, no. She is fan service. Just that's it. She has no personality.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies.
The thing is, I actually have no issues with the character.
Yeah?
I don't think she's
great.
I
think it's because I take issue with stuff that opens with fan service.
She is a fan service
The first
character.
thing you see of her is her underwear.
She is a fan service character. I have more sympathy for the character more than anything.
Sure.
Just because all I see from her is just getting bullied by the small one. I'm like, why?
I don't like either, so it's...
Sure.
But it's the one time I will stand with the small one.
Well, she didn't deserve to get bullied for the fact that she looked like she did.
Sure.
She bullied her just because she had like big tits. That's not good enough reason to, you know, bully her. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I understand. I can understand why people dislike her. I've just never. I personally don't get it, but
she also does the protect me kind of thing as well. Which
you mean who she's pandering to?
Yeah, which I don't. That doesn't.
Which you don't care. That's fine. I'm definitely softer on it.
I think it's because I find it weird that it's more like there's someone out there who's just like.
This is hot.
Acts to be defenseless. It's like,
sure.
Okay.
I like the fact that you had somebody who did autopsies on your team.
That's true. That was interesting. I did like it.
I thought that was quite interesting. And going into this, did she give you a fake autopsy in this one? Is that what happened? Because she was in charge of the autopsy, and spoiler, she is the killer of this chapter.
Yes, she is. I don't actually know. I can't remember. I think she does. Right?
I mean, it'd be in her benefit to do that.
Yes, because this is my main reason why I like Chapter 3 a lot, because it kills off Mikan, because she's the killer.
It kills off Sayonji.
It kills off Sayonji, because, you know, I just don't like her. And then it also kills off Ibuki, who I also don't like.
What's your reasons for disliking Ibuki?
I don't like Ibuki because all she does is shout.
She literally is just like XD Raw.
Yeah,
the Roaring 20s.
Her entire character is basically, if you condensed like early 2010s raw speak into a character,
Her design reeks of that.
yeah, and it's just kind of like
Put an image on the screen now of just like Ibuki, and then of just who somebody we're comparing to in real life. You can see the resemblance.
The thing is, though, is people call out Soda for being I think Sanji, Tiyoko actually does call out Soda for being, oh, you dress like that because you want people to notice you. And I'm like, you said that about him and not Ibuki, who is literally just like, look at me, ah!
The thing is, I don't remember any characters having any memorable interactions with Ibuki.
No, neither do I.
I don't think she's friends with her. I don't think anyone likes her.
No.
I wouldn't like
it's
her
weird
if I was
that like... And also, she's the one I hear the least about on the internet as well. So
another unmemorable
maybe
character,
people just came together and was like, huh, who? So I don't like...
I like the performance she puts on in this.
I will say that. I did like that as well. Yeah, it was funny.
I think everyone's like, oh, what's she going to sing? And then she starts singing like death metal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, just like how we're all going to die. Like, oh, all right.
Okay. So, like, I don't dislike her as much as the other two, but I think she's not only not memorable, she doesn't have any good interactions with other characters, and I just don't like what she stands for.
So this chapter kills off all three of you.
And this chapter kills off literally the only three characters besides Nagito that I have a problem with in this game in one go. Sure. So I really like chapter. But I can agree with. I don't think that the motive is good. I don't think the way in which the murders were carried out was good. I don't think the trial is particularly fantastic either. But I do have to give it props for killing off all three of my least favorite characters at once. And actually, I remember at the time. when it turns out who the first death was, I text you like, yeah, they're killing off one of my least favorite characters, and they killed off.
It was Ibuki first, then
Ibuki, and then you see Sanji, and I was like, yeah, 2 in a row, baby. And then when I found out that Mikan was the one who did it, I was like, boy, I hit my lucky day, 3 in a row.
Ibuki probably being the most, besides the one in chapter 5, for me is the most chilling reveal in the game, because I think the whole hanging thing is messed up. The way she kills her is messed up, because she just hangs her, doesn't she?
Well, because the thing is the
and Sanji,
she becomes very what's it called?
Delirious?
No, susceptible to advice. Like anything you tell her, she will do.
So she makes her kill herself.
Yeah, she's like scary. Yeah, so she tells her to kill herself. And the thing is the two groups had separated, so they needed a way to talk to each other, and they found like a hardware store which sold CCTV cameras. So they basically wired them up so there was like this video calling thing. So what Mikan did was set up one of the cameras to point at the stage, because the one group was going to the nightclub because they needed to be close enough for the CCTV cameras to be in range, but not close enough to be in contact with each other.
Sure.
And that happened to be the nightclub. So Mikan went to the nightclub during the night, pointed the camera at the stage, and then told Mikan to go and kill herself at a specific time. So when they were due to do the scheduled phone call, instead of seeing the phone call, they saw Ibuki killing herself. It is kind of messed up.
I do like that. I do like that. The aspect of it is quite creepy. And but the thing is, whilst I think the murder was okay overall, I think it relies too much on just like we have to suspend our disbelief in this one more so I think than any other trial.
Yeah, it is the one that shows the cracks. Almost, if you want, could be foreshadowing what comes in chapter 6 the most, where it's pretty much like there's this disease that makes you feel despair, but then also Monokuma cures it like that. It's kind of like, this is the chapter, I think.
I wish he kept Nagato in a state the rest of the chapter.
I think that it is weird that this feels like a weird turning point for our game as a whole, where it sort of becomes more fantastical rather than grounded, and I think that kind of hurts it a little bit. But this chapter specifically is the worst in terms of you have to basically suspend your disbelief.
There's things obviously I like about this chapter. I think I love the whole intro before the murders happen. I think and before the thing is revealed, where you go to Titty Saloon and all that.
Titty
Typhoon. I think that's all grand. I like the new locations you get. I think it's all a fun time. I love the murder reveals. It's just this chapter.
I think we haven't
Stupid.
mentioned yet that after each trial you unlock a new island because
Yes.
Monomi defeats one of the Mono Beasts,
Yeah.
so you can go to another.
In a really
Island.
not fun mini game you can play.
Yes, you actually get to defeat the Mono Beasts,
Yeah.
and I did the first one and went no, thank you.
Same.
But I think it is quite a nice touch as well that each island gets progressively more and more dilapidated.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the last island, it's just like a wreck. But it's kind of like this like weird thing where each island is gets progressively worse and worse. So this is like the midpoint where some of the characters quite. I was like, isn't it weird that it's like these like cheap motels and this hospital that's about to fall down. And like the nightclub, it's weird, isn't it? So I thought that was a nice.
Yeah, there's aspects of chapter 3 I like. Overall, it's probably my least favorite chapter in the game.
But also, actually, skipping ahead to the end of the trial, right at the end, Mikan kind of reverts back to how she was under the despair. Because by the way, she gets it too. That's what.
That's why she did it.
Yeah, that's why she did it. And then she kind of reverts back to that, and someone goes, "Wait, she wasn't under the influence of the thing, though. Is that what she really acts like? Was she putting on an act all that time?"
Which is a hint at the
overarching story, yeah. Which
we've been getting bits and bobs of the Future Foundation and stuff like that.
Yes, because actually you discovered the Future Foundation building, I think, on the first island, right?
And that's all we'll say about it for now. The Future Foundations are stupid. So what is it? Just it's a team to counteract Monokuma? Is that what it was?
Pretty much, yeah. But that we'll go more into that later, and also. In our second part, because
we get to see every member of the Future Foundation, and then
let me tell you, I did not clap, not even once.
What else happened? Though big thing happened in this chapter. We have to talk about 2 more characters in chapter 3 now. So Akane was having a fight with Monokuma. Let's talk about Akane. She's the.
Wait, is this chapter 3 as well?
It's chapter 3
Bloody hell, a lot happened in chapter 3.
Because this is how chapter 3 ends, with a certain character coming back as a robot.
Before then, forget that. We haven't talked about any of the executions yet. Because I think chapter 3 is what we both say is probably the worst execution.
It's like, alright.
Because the first execution is
it's the one where he gets dragged and he gets deep fried
in the volcano.
That's funny,
which was funny, yeah. And then the second
chapter 2 is the one where Peko fights all of them, and then the mafia guy takes the blow for it. It's kind of lame.
Mm-hmm. And then this one is she gets launched into space.
I'd say the executions in this one overall are a step below the first game.
First one, yeah, but she just gets launched into space. That's
like, alright, well there you go. So Akane's fighting Monokuma for no reason besides the fact she's an idiot. And
good reason.
What do you think of Akane?
I know you like her, but I
don't.
Oh, really? I thought you did.
No.
Oh,
I hate her.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't like Akane at all.
I'm more indifferent to her. I don't hate her, but I don't really.
Big dislike from your boy.
Oh wow, okay.
Her character is I like to eat. It's like, alright, I'm hungry.
That is pretty funny.
I'm hungry and I'm strong. And it's going into the aspect of how many characters in this cast are useless during trials. We have to sit through these trials and hear stupid stuff from Soda, Sonia, Akane, who are 3 of the characters that live, by the way, and like, as much as the characters I like and stuff like Nidai Nikamaru, Saionji, that's 5 characters I got off the top of my head that contribute nothing. Ibuki contribute nothing to trials. Mikan is was the autopsy lady, but again, besides that, she would put that forward as evidence, but in trials, nothing. Gundam Tanaka, as much as I love the character, nothing on him either. It's like, that's 8 characters already I've got. If you're not Hajime, Nagato Kamada, or Chiaki, you contribute nothing to the trials besides banter, right? It's good. I like the banter and I like that, but in terms of usefulness, none of the characters in this game are useful. The most useless cast in the series, dare I say.
Sure, yeah. I think
and this is the cast that's supposed to be held up on a pedestal based on all the lore around it. Talk about, going into the series afterwards, that first game's cast, nothing on them. No, who cares?
Nothing. You don't get anything.
Second game's cast, they're held on a pedestal, and it's like, why they're all idiots. Well, obviously it's because of plot points later, but
What?
it's so stupid how useless they are. But Akane,
Considering how much,
Akane,
yeah.
I don't like her. She's an idiot. I think she's strong and that's the thing. I know people who do like her because I like her backstory and all that, but I don't care. I don't like Akane. I didn't like her even when the game first came out.
I didn't think too much either way, honestly. I was more indifferent towards her.
I'm more like that with Sonya. Never mind.
Is it just because she led to your boy Nekomaru basically?
That's
getting
part.
done in?
That is part of it as well. It's like what a selfish thing to do. I mean, obviously he got in the way to save her, which he shouldn't have. Nidai Nekomaru is the ultimate team manager, and we both quite like the character.
Yes, I like.
He's such a great
Nekomaru,
character. He's again, to be fair, this is all going to be subjective, but it sounds like the characters that we like are just the ones that make us laugh. Or just like, yeah, that's all. He's just a funny character, and he always talks about how he wants to take a dump. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's stupid. Yeah, but I'm not saying I'm easy. I'm hard to like make laugh.
No, exactly.
It's just like
See, that's yeah.
it's he's a good character.
Look, writers, you want to make us happy? Just write a stupid character who's funny, and we'll clap.
Yeah, we like Yasuhiro in the first game.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna like Nekomaru Nidai in
Wait,
this
which one?
He's the Afro guy.
Yeah.
We like him because he's funny. Hence, we like. I think Nidai Nekomaru is one of my favorite characters, and that's. I think that's an unpopular opinion. I don't think people are big on him for some reason.
Sure.
Probably because you can sexualize him the least. That's probably why. Besides, like the chef, because he's just a big buff man, and people don't like that. But besides that, you know, he's a great character. I really like him. And at the end of this, he gets shot with a rocket launcher, and it doesn't kill him, but it leaves him in a state where he's like, oh, his body needs to be replaced, and he comes back as a robot. What do you think of Robot? Him?
I like Robot.
It's funny.
Yeah.
He cries tears of like
Lemonade
and cola. It's funny. Just thinking about that makes me laugh. And that leads directly into chapter 3's ending leads straight into chapter 4. He becomes a robot. Everyone's happy. And then Monokuma leads into a theme park. He's like, look at this guy's theme park. Whoa. And then you remember that, you get reminded that, like, Fukahiro, whatever, the mafia guy's still alive because you don't remember he was alive in chapter 3, that's for sure. But he's still with us. And you get put in this building, and what's Monokuma's motivation? This chapter, he's like, you're starving, that's it.
You're Hank Marvin.
Again, another motivation I don't like, because
It's too poking them again.
yeah, it's too like, I'm forcing you to kill. The brilliant thing about Danganronpa 1's motivations, the secret one, the video, and the money, is just, but even the traitor one, anyone could have done that traitor one.
Yeah, exactly,
It's the fact that it could be anyone. Whereas this game so far, it's aimed at specific people.
Yes, exactly. It's very poking people to go and do stuff.
And it's like, and I hate that.
Speaking of food,
That disease one is just like, well, if you don't get it, everyone's going to get infected.
yeah, exactly.
And this one's if you don't get it, everyone's going to die.
Mm.
If you don't kill somebody, it's like, Monokuma should be better than that. He shouldn't really force you to think like that. And to be fair, to get ahead of ourselves with V3, I do think it is better in that regard. But
Well, that's the thing is, in any media, my least favourite motives are things that specifically force you to do stuff. I'd much rather it be, here's a thing, think about it if you want, but you don't have to. Like the money thing in the first one. That only appeals to greedy people. Which I guess you could say is targeting, but it's not like, if you don't do this, you will starve to death. It's like, if you don't do this, nothing will happen. But you'll have to do something eventually, right?
yeah.
Whereas this is like, do something or die. I don't like Monokuma being this hands-on.
Which is a shame because his characterization's still great.
He's hilarious.
He gets less screen time in this game than he does the first one because he has to share the screen time with Monomi. But it makes all his appearances great, and he's a more ruthless character in this one, but he's still a great character.
I like that he starts doing the aerobics lessons every morning.
Yeah, but that's to drive him closer to do it, right? And to be fair, overall, chapter 4, I think chapter 4 is great. I think the murder behind this one was quite elaborate in a good way, and I think the person who did it, you wouldn't really suspect straight away. I think it was a case where you could have guessed anyone did it. And this is the chapter where Nekomaru Nidai dies, unfortunately. He drops and he breaks into pieces, which is sad. You want to talk about chapter 3 killing off all my least favourite? Chapter 4 kills off my 2 favourite characters.
But at least the one who did do the killing gets a good send-off.
Yeah, Tanaka Gundam is the ultimate animal breeder. Yeah, he was the ultimate animal breeder. And he's my personal favourite character in the game, personally. That's just me. He's my personal favourite human character in the entire series.
Oh, really? High words, big words.
Tanaka Gundam is nothing but entertaining and just likeable.
With a heart of gold.
Yeah, he's secretly kind of a softie, which I like. I think he puts on a harder exterior than he has, which I like. If you read any of the backstory, he said he's scared of stuff like his mother's cooking. It's cute. I like Gundam Tanaka a lot, and you're quite big on him too, aren't you?
He's probably also one of my most favorite designs in the entire game.
Yeah,
as well.
I love how he looks. It's such a good design. One of my favorite characters. You quite fond of him then?
No, I like him a lot too. He wasn't my favorite in any of the games, but he's maybe close second.
Yeah, he's my favorite overall, just because I like his presence, and I just like being around the guy.
Same.
He's a nice contrast to the rest of the cast, because I guess while we label Ibuki as quirky and annoying, I guess you could say he's quirky too, but I think it's more how seriously he genuinely believes his own BS.
Yes,
I think is quite entertaining.
That's what it adds to it, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite entertaining.
Because it's very clear that Ibuki's just doing it to get a reaction out of you, whereas Tanaka's like, yeah, this is...
Tanaka could care less. He usually goes off by himself. He'll threaten you. Also, I love his hamsters.
The 4 dark days of destruction.
The fat one.
Yeah, I love the fat one.
The best one. But they even play into they shut off Nekomaru's switch, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah.
They have a fight. They had a fight to the death, and the way it worked was that the person who won would be the killer, and they'd go along with it, and the person who lost. But the thing is, their intention, both of them were going to die. They were going to carry the burden of sacrifice, and why Gundam Tanaka chose Nekomaru Nidai specifically is... I
think it's because...
Maybe it was like he wanted a worthy opponent kind of thing.
No, I think it's because he knew he'd do it. Honestly, because who else was going to do it?
Probably Akane.
No, I don't think she would have. She would have wanted to win.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Which
go along with it. Yeah,
go along with it. Yeah.
I thought you meant just challenge him. Yeah.
No, because I think he wanted to make it realistic. So he looked realistic. Akane would have just.
So yeah, Gundam Tanaka also went in with the intention of dying.
Yes. I assume they both. Yeah, they both went in. Yeah.
To me, it depends how you analyze it, but for me, it's the saddest murder in the series, because he did it with the intention of sacrificing himself to because he thought the idea that they were content with dying without killing anyone was silly. He said there should be sacrifices made. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He was willing to sacrifice himself, and I get it. He didn't give himself up straight away, but you'll notice as you play that chapter, he acts very out of character towards the end, losing his composure, and then as soon as it's over, he gets it back again. It was definitely, I feel a lot of it was playing the character.
Yes.
And to me, I find his send-off really sad. It's funny, obviously, the way he dies, he gets run over and all that by the stampede. But then his little ghost goes to heaven. I'm like, oh...
Well, he was so intent on going. He was like, I'm going to hell to rule over hell.
Yeah, Danganronpa, it's not a game that really pulls on the heartstrings, is it? It's a very...
You see his hamsters cry.
Yeah, it's not a heartstring pully game. It's not meant to be, but that one is the closest I ever got to being really sad when a character died. I was, and that was after Nidai died too.
Yes,
these are my 2 favourite characters. How could it be?
We should also mention that actually during the events of this chapter, you get to play as Nagato.
Yeah, let's go back to him, because he goes through another character shift in this chapter.
Yes.
And to be fair, as much stuff as we like to give him, like bad stuff, we do like this version of Kamida.
Yes, we do.
Probably more than his previous
But it's a
incarnation.
shame you get so short with him.
Because he just becomes an asshole.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So basically, you get to do this, like, there's a... Monokuma says there's, like, an escape room kind of a thing that you get to do. And if you do it, you get your choice of any weapon you want, which you can use, like, as a murder thing, as well as a special prize. So you get to do it. It's actually not that hard. He bigs it up like, you will never escape. But, like, it's actually...
You can even
easy
skip
to do.
it.
Can you?
Yeah.
God, I didn't even know
It
that.
costs, like, coins, though.
Oh, whatever. So I did it anyway, and I was like, okay, that's cool. But then he comes across the yearbook, doesn't he? For
Yeah, you learn some stuff.
yeah, so you learn about, obviously there are pages missing, but he learns about who everyone is, and that's where he finds out about who Hajime really is, and that kind of turns him off you a little bit. And then
And the cast as a whole.
yeah, and then he just kind of spends the rest of the game dissing Hajime, which I actually quite like.
There's a really good part of the trial where Nagato says something and Soda's like, wait, you mean, like, he's trying to bring up a point, and Nagato just replies with "huh," and then he tries to bring up the point again, and he replies again with "huh." It's really funny.
Can I talk to you for a minute? Huh? Can I talk to you for a minute?
Hey Ed, a word? What? A word? What? A word? What?
I really hate Soda, and you know, I hate Nagato too, but like, I like the fact he was bullying Soda.
See, that's the thing is we both like chapter 5, like end of chapter 4, like, and then chapter 5. Nagato,
Chapter 4 and 5 are both fantastic.
But we both think that it doesn't make up for how he acts.
No,
for the
because
rest of
by
the
that
game.
point you've played the game for like 15 to 20 hours.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
alright.
Right, you had 15 hours of like bad Nagato, and 2 hours of good Nagato is going to make up for
Yeah,
it. Sure.
but I do like how he acts in this chapter. He's quite an entertaining character.
I agree. Yeah.
Honestly, if he was going to be that antagonistic, I'd rather him just be like that from the beginning.
Same. Yeah. Just make him an arsehole from the start.
Be like, because he's obsessed with hope, right? Just be a hope person who's uptight about, like, oh, none of you have it. You're all lame. Like he is in like chapter 4 onwards. He's like, oh, none of you are like this though. You're all pathetic. It would have been a better contrast to his boring personality than the more just loathing himself thing. But overall, chapter 4 is quite good. I like the murder. I like all the things about it. I like the fact that the thing that gives it away, that Gundam is the killer, is the fact he stayed in the luxury room, which was soundproof. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So he shouldn't have been able to hear the clock going off, the alarm clock. But he was already there, so he had to blend in with the crowd. But the thing is also, as a bait and switch, they made you think at first Nagato did it.
Yes, they did, yes.
And then it switched to Gundam Tanaka. Probably, for me, one of the more unpredictable killers in the... What did you think? Did you guess it, or...?
Honestly, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it's quite out there.
It is quite out there, yeah.
Out of curiosity, for chapter 3, did you guess the nurse? It's the most logical.
Yeah, I think it's
solution.
one of the ones where it's basically you should.
Who was always with these people.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was a nurse in that one. Who was twos again? It was
Peko was the killer.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that one was kind of, yeah, as I said, it kind of brings it full circle to the point where it's so convoluted that actually it can only be one person. Yeah. So actually, no, I think this was the first one that I didn't get straight away, or even at all, until it was like.
Oh, did you get the chef straight away?
Yeah, because it was the skewer.
Okay,
They pointed
sick.
out. I was like, there's only one person who could have had that.
So it leads directly into chapter 5, which by many, the fans, chapter 5 is the best chapter overall in the trilogy.
And you know what? I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see why it did.
Same.
Yeah.
I can see it purely for the trial, not the story surrounding it.
The story surrounding it is kind of.
I also, by this point, hate all the characters still in it. So I'm just like, alright. At least I still have you, Chiaki. It's, I'm glad we don't have to keep talking about characters. I think we've talked about all of them. Chapter 5 starts off quite interesting with your boy, Nagato Kamida, just coming in and was like, I'm going to blow you up. There was no motivation for this one, is it? It was
No,
just
just
stop Nagato.
Okay, No, because if I remember correctly, Nagato after the trial of chapter
Strikes
4,
a deal.
strikes a deal. And Monokuma was like, "I'm gonna do a thing," and Monokuma was like, "Yeah, go on."
Yeah, so there's no real motivation for this one, and the story surrounding this for me is just kind of not great because, as I said, by this point all of my favorite characters are dead. So I'm just kind of like, cool, I don't care about anyone anymore. Sick. But that being said, it's a testament to the writing how like into it you get when he starts blowing stuff up, because it's quite chapter 5 is quite exciting, and you're just like, oh no. By the way, Soda shouldn't have survived. He goes flying when that bomb goes up,
and they keep showing that scene as well where he keeps getting blown up.
It's funny, but I don't think the story surrounding it's okay. But the thing is, the trial when you find his body, Nagato Kamaida's, you open the door, you see his body. You chased him into the building, right? And he managed to somehow get killed. His wrists and all that tied up. He's got a spear in his chest. One of the most graphic murders in the series by far. And he's gagged too. And it's quite a horrible way to go. And the thing is, all the characters are with you. So who did it, right? And through honestly brilliant writing, it all leads to the fact that he set up a thing so that it'd kill him, but it doesn't count as a suicide because whoever opened the door and set off the gas is technically the killer, right?
No.
Is that not what it was?
No, it's whoever put out the fire.
Put out the fire, rather. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it set off, was it the poison?
It set off the poison that knocked him out.
Yeah. Then he let go of the rope.
Yeah, so he speared himself.
But it doesn't count as suicide.
Because he's also technically still alive.
Mm.
The thing that killed him was because actually him being knocked out and then like him letting go of the rope to stab himself would have counted as a suicide. It was the fact that he then got burnt was the thing that made it a murder.
Oh.
So actually, it was up until that point.
What caused the fire, though?
The fire was caused by the fact that when the door was opened, it knocked a whole lot of stuff off, which dominoed into a candle, which set a curtain on fire. The curtain was nowhere near him, but he replaced the one of the canisters, because they had like the fire extinguishers were like these plastic bottles that had extinguisher in them, but one of them was filled with like petrol instead. So when they threw the fire extinguishers, one of them had the petrol in instead, which meant that the fire got bigger and then that killed him.
It was quite a brilliant...
It was. It's a lot of setup because it links back into chapter 4, because one of the weapons he took for completing the escape room was both the bomb, the fire, and the poison, which he used the poison to knock himself out and the petrol in the fire extinguisher. I
think it's also the only time where I'm okay with Danganronpa's more serious tone, because I think by this point the stakes have been earned. Nagato Kamaida has died, and that is as much as we don't like him, that's a big deal.
Yes, he is a huge character in that
because it keeps building him up like he's a killer. I think him being a victim was a good bait and switch.
But I think the best bait is the fact that he made himself the victim.
Yeah.
Because this trial goes on for... This is probably the longest trial in the series, because it just keeps going backwards and forwards, because it's not one of these ones where the killer is playing everyone else. The truth is, the killer doesn't know they're the killer, because people just grabbed the fire extinguisher around him and threw it. No one knew which one had the stuff in it.
Yes, no one knows who the killer is, and this was all brilliantly set up by Nagato Kamaida to isolate. What he wanted to do was that since they wouldn't guess the killer, they'd all get executed.
No, they didn't guess. Yeah.
And the traitor would be the
traitor, yes.
But the traitor, because they were technically the killer, would be isolated, right?
Yes.
And they'd have to live with the fact that. But no, it doesn't come to fruition because Nagato Kamaida's plan technically fails, because they do find out who it is, because the traitor admits who it is, and that's Chiaki.
Chiaki, yes.
And then she alone is executed, which
along with
Monomi.
In one of my favourite lines in the entire game, where Monokuma just goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot, I'm an only child," then sentences her to death.
What do you think of the execution for chapter 5?
It's the Tetris one, yeah.
Gets chased by Pac-Man first.
Yes, it is probably the most gory in the entire series because you see her get crushed by and the blood come out after.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. It's funny. Unfortunately, it has to be quite humorous. But it also gives you the illusion she'll get away. But then she doesn't. Yeah. It's a shame that at that point, if you were talking about characters I like, that was the last one I was really into. I'm like, all right, cool. So chapter 6 is just left with like 5 characters. I like Hajime and the Mafia guys, all right.
You forgot chapter question mark first.
Yeah,
they show that like them on the boat.
But just to wrap up thoughts on chapter 5, I do understand why it's as highly regarded as it is, and if I didn't dislike kind of the general story surrounding it with the Future Foundation and just in general kind of the fact that there's only like 7 characters left at that point, I'm kind of like, all right, I'd probably give it like a perfect score. It's definitely the best of Danganronpa's writing, I think, was all in that chapter.
Yeah, I like if I was to give someone like a good a good introduction to the game, it probably would be either chapter 1 from this game or chapter 5 because it sets up that whole
I'm glad it's the final.
Characters are something you have to take into account.
I'm glad it's the final murder trial as well.
It's really good.
It goes in with that thing that I brought up. That chapter 1 kills off major characters, and chapter 5 kills off major characters, and everything in between is filler. Chapter 1 in this case, I guess. Technically, if you do it with a revisionist history, it didn't actually kill off anyone major, but it's just the fact that at the time everyone thought it was Byakuya who died. It's supposed to be quite a big deal, but now we know it's the ultimate imposter, so not really in that case. But yeah, chapter 5, great.
But yeah, because I think, although we have, we said bad things about chapter 3 and 4's trials, I think 1, 2, and 5 are...
No, chapter 2 we didn't like.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, chapter 2 you didn't like.
No, but you did.
I think it's alright,
yeah. So 1 and 5 are fantastic chapters, in their own rights.
Yeah. I love chapter 4 as well.
Yeah, so I don't. So
that's the Gundam one.
Yeah, I liked chapter 4 as well. So actually, although I think we liked every trial in the first game, we dislike more in this one, but the ones that are good
they're so fantastic. Good, yeah. It represents the cast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very.
That's probably why 2 is my favorite because the highs are really high.
The highs are the highest in the series.
Yeah.
And then that's when we see the mysterious long-haired figure. Who is it?
Who could it be?
Yeah.
But wait, we're in their perspective, so is it us? Is it me?
And we get to see Nagato one last time. It's like, go away. Is that around the time they tell you that he took Juko's hand?
Yeah. Which is weird.
Which, by the way, that means... But his hand doesn't work.
Yes.
So it's like... Was he missing his hand and he just stuck it on, or did he just go, did a sword off?
If I remember correctly, he cut his own hand off and then sewed Enoshima's hand on there.
Wow.
What a nerd.
Yeah, what an idiot. Whatever, it's probably elaborated on some lore we don't care about. Maybe it's actually... maybe it's talked about in that game. Man, the way Hajime is characterized in the anime, you'd think that he wouldn't be as much of an asshole as he in the video game, because in the anime he just feels sorry for himself.
You're right.
But this one, he's like, you're all dicks. Yeah.
In the show, he refers to himself as a scrub. So
he does as well, doesn't he? Whatever. We'll get into it. Chapter 6 starts off where you're like, what's going on? Things are going on in this world.
Everything's glitching.
Everything's glitching. What? And Monokuma says, meet me or something. I don't know what he says. Your memory's more fresh on this because the last time I've played Danganronpa 2 was when it came out, so it would have been 2014-15. I've definitely updated my knowledge on it, but you're probably more fresh on it. But what does he want you to do? In this chapter, have you just gotten rid of this?
I want to say he wants you to guess the code for the Future Foundation building something to get in, and he gives you hints towards it. Which, to be fair, actually, the code back it is actually revealed in chapter 4. Nagato finds it, but he crosses it out. Nagato leaves the code in the a video message that he leaves before he dies. So you go and unlock it, and then that's when you return to Hope's Peak Academy from the first game.
And you're like, wow, it's like I'm really there.
Except the game is glitching, so you have to... In one of the... Like, I understand what they were going for, but there's a bit where you're just upside down. The controls are, like, weird, and it's like, oh, this is not fun to play. Because I don't like the first-person controls in Danganronpa 1 and 2 specifically, because you both look and move with the left stick, and it feels weird. So then you mess around with the controls in my vision. It's just like, So you're basically going through Hope's Peak Academy from top to bottom, pretty much. And you're going through it and you're picking up clues as to what's going on. And you kind of piece it together. And then Monokuma basically challenges you and says, oh, by the way, solve everything or I'll kill you.
Kind of like the same thing as in the last one.
So you have to go around looking for clues, and that's where you run into Alter Ego again, who's still alive apparently, and you find out that in a roundabout kind of way that you are living inside a simulation, basically, that's being used to rehabilitate you. Because you don't find out until later on, but you've done something, and they're trying to undo that. And you have a brief conversation with Makoto as well. He can't see you, but he's guessing that you're there, and he's like, I'm just going to tell you this, listen up, tells you a whole load of stuff. So you're like, okay, interesting. And then Monokuma challenges you to a trial.
Is the simulation, them living in a simulation, is that the big twist?
That is the big twist of Danganronpa 2,
It's
yes.
such a bad one.
You're right.
I hate, and I've said this before even I met you and we started talking. Because I know one of our mates on the Discord he knows this about me. I hate this chapter as a whole, but the simulation twist is so dumb. Because to me, I don't care what you've done. You've made the entire game for me pointless. It's done. None of those murders matter.
It's the same as the "It's a Dream" thing.
Yeah, none of those murders matter.
No, they didn't matter
because it's a simulation. So it's like sick.
The only thing is when you died, you basically, your brain got shut off.
Yeah.
But then that turned out to not even be true either.
Going into events later. The entire... if Danganronpa 2 made Danganronpa 2 pointless, Danganronpa 3, the anime, made Danganronpa 2 even more like,
pointless.
It just shouldn't have happened.
It just shouldn't have happened. And I think this is something, again, that we didn't like. You know, Chapter 6 in the first game took itself seriously. Chapter 6 in the second game takes itself even more seriously. Dare I say, almost to the point where it becomes self-parody, but it's not aware that it's a parody.
Yeah, it's like, it has to be serious now, no fun. And the thing is, the things they want to have fun with is all the wrong things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because who's the mastermind? It's Junko Enoshima's AI. One of the Junko Enoshima twist in the first game is great, but using her again, Danganronpa is a lot of things, but this was genuinely the moment where I was like, this is jumping the shark. This is stupid.
Yeah. The only thing that I like about that
done with this.
The only thing I like about it is the fact that she makes herself giant, but then talks through her
Yes,
phone.
that is really funny. I agree.
Yeah.
But then she goes back into her, I'm going to crush you with my massive boobs.
Yeah.
It's everything we hate about her character in the first game.
But before that, you actually get a little bait and switch from your boy Monokuma, who's like, "Look, it's Makoto from the first game, woo!" And it turns out it's not Makoto. He's trying to bait you into giving him the code because you're told there's a code that if you're used, it will shut down the simulation. And I don't think it actually ends up working. But he's trying to bait you into like telling him what it is, but you don't find out. So then he goes, yeah, you're right, that wasn't the real Makoto. And then the real Makoto comes. And then...
Probably the best part of the chapter is when the old characters come back, because you get to see Makoto, Kirigiri, and Byakuya again.
Yeah. The real Byakuya.
Yeah, which is funny, I guess. But it's fine. I think that's the best part. And Monokuma, of course, is on point in this. I think some of his best lines come from... I love the fact he references like Frieza. in this. It's his last line.
It is, yeah.
He's like, I'll skip my second and third falls and go straight to my final one. But again, when Juko comes, Monokuma goes away.
Yeah, right.
Give V3 this. When you get to chapter 6, when the mastermind is revealed, Monokuma stays.
Nice. They took them 2 games to learn.
Because I guess in that one it's less of a transformation. It's more like, I don't know, kind of like we're working together kind of thing.
Sure.
It's stupid.
The thing is, though, is the thing with... Oh, also, actually, there is that... they do keep making references to other games now. Like the other game, Final. Don't say it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. You know what? Actually, the references with Danganronpa are definitely hit or miss.
Yes.
But I think the clever ones is when it's just worked into the dialogue naturally. Yeah. There's this one I really like from chapter 3 where Monokuma says, whatever, don't get down with the sickness or something like that. It's stuff like that makes me laugh. I'm surprised how many references the Western release actually does have. Maybe the Japanese has a bunch of Japanese references. But like, in that first game, Hifumi Yamada's, before he dies, says winter is coming. It's just like a thing he says, and it makes me laugh. The ones I don't like is where they're literally like, it's like this from the, Phoenix Wright's Ace Attorney. I think Ibuki says something like, wow, his knowledge would even make the Ace Attorney look. And it's like, all right, go away. It's stupid. But I like a lot of the references in it, I guess. And to complement the humor, I'll give chapter 6 this. At least the humor from Monokuma's good. And then he goes away, and I'm like, okay, now I have zero interest. And the way they solve it with the whole Hajime getting, like, the white hair thing it feels like a Deus Ex Machina.
It does.
Worse so than the Hope thing from the first game.
Yeah. And it also it's just also the fact that despite the couple of jokes it has, which chapter 6, to be fair, chapter 6 in the first game, I don't remember actually had any jokes in it. Although that trial didn't, but it tries to be lighthearted, but it still comes off as, dare I say, up its own arse, which Danganronpa should not. Danganronpa is at its worst when it's trying to.
The
be
chapter
serious.
6s of the game are up their own arse. They really are.
But it doesn't. It really feels out of character for the games to want to do that. You spent all this time showing me a game that is actively like, the norms suck. We hate the norms, only to then go, actually, we need to do it for this last bit. It's like, why? It does feel weird when the game just starts being serious.
I agree.
I think it's a real downer because I was really liking what
the entire ride of Danganronpa 2 as a whole, even the negatives of chapter. The thing is, when we say chapter 2 and chapter 3 are negative, like they're not good trials or whatever, we don't look at the chapter 2 and 3 then say they're bad on the whole. There's a lot of aspects of chapter 2 and 3 we like. Chapter 6 we genuinely consider quite a stinker, just overall.
And I think it does suck because that's twice in a row where the game has ended in the same way.
Now, it's a retread of old stuff.
I don't know how, because obviously the English translations came out several years after the original games came out. I don't know how they were perceived over there, but I can't see those endings being popular over there either. It's weird that they would.
Danganronpa 2 is one of the worst video game endings I've ever played.
I agree. I think I said it to you at the time, but it's kind of like,
they don't think about the endings, do they?
It's not even like they learn from the first time. Like people, I assume that maybe people just didn't like the fact that the game got really totally different, like that. There's no transition; it just goes straight into being super serious. I'm surprised that they just went for it again. They didn't even try to do something different. It was literally the exact same thing again. It just feels weird. It feels like a very unsatisfying ending. You've put us through all of that, and then you're just going to do the same thing again.
I'd say all 3 games have unsatisfying endings, but I'll give V3's this. It's very definitive. This is the end, which I do like.
Sure, yeah.
But it still ends on the same way, like the characters looking out to the horizon. What's out there kind of thing. V3 ends like the exact same way. But
Two, you don't even see the cast at the end. It's the original 3 going, they'll be alright, right? Yeah, sure.
We should probably look after these comatose guys.
Nah, that's fine.
It's unfortunately it's a great ride up until that point.
And it is a shame we said it. It's the same thing the first game. You got all that great stuff, and then you hit a brick wall. It's literally like hitting a brick wall.
No, I mean the good thing is,
and chapter 6 isn't short either. I did it in one sitting, and it took that trial took me 6 hours. It's a long. That stint is really long as well. It's just 6 hours of bad. I don't like it.
If the overall game is longer.
The game is about 5 hours longer than the first game, and
I'd say for me of the three, perfect length.
No, yeah, it is the best length because I think
one's go to a bit too quick.
One leaves you wanting more.
Yeah.
Two, just because of its ending, was like no more.
Thank you very much. V3 comes in. Here's my 9-hour chapters.
I say, cool.
It's chapter 3 of V3 is 9 hours.
Chapter
right?
3 of V3 to take me 9 hours. Yeah.
So when you said chapter 5 of this was the longest in the series, you meant up until this point?
Up until I mean as in yeah.
Yeah, because V3 just comes with its 7-hour.
V3
chapters.
is different from V3 has a thing where it wants each chapter to be its own game. So I'm like, yeah.
But
I have played games that are shorter than chapters in V3.
But in terms of chapter 6, I guess wrapping up, it's dumb, it's long, and it's just convoluted.
It's not deserved either.
Yeah, it's. I guess we just don't like. I guess Danganronpa and plot twists just don't go well together.
I don't necessarily think that plot twists can't work, but I think it's when you're trying to do too much too quickly.
Their plot, the mindset for Danganronpa though is we need that next plot twist to be bigger than the last. That's literally how they write it.
But the thing is the game made fun of the fact that the plot twist was that stupid.
Yeah.
So then you want to out-stupid that?
Yeah.
What? It seems weird. It doesn't seem like it seems out of character for the game. Honestly, it feels like it was written by someone else. It's like, okay, we wrote the first 5 chapters, you write the last
It comes off almost like a fan fiction.
Yeah, dare I say, it does come off a bit of fan fiction.
It definitely, because you want to stretch this game out, it definitely feels like the murders and the trials are the main focus, and that overarching story comes after the fact. Because the overarching story in this game is probably the worst of the 3. And I really hate the Future Foundation stuff.
And it is also such a shame that then unfortunately chapter 6 affects everything that comes after it, as we are going to discuss in the next part of this series, which will be coming soon. We will be talking about what comes after, and chapter 6 of Danganronpa 2 unfortunately affects everything that comes after it in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because 2 is my favourite in the series, but then it also sets up everything that I don't like about the series as well.
That's the thing, and this is still a game we consider great.
No, oh yeah, absolutely. Like if you're sitting here going,
they must not like it.
No, we love this game.
You can criticise games you like.
Exactly,
we are, to be fair, we are talking on the internet where you can only blindly like something, right? But the problem is Danganronpa's a narrative-heavy game, so what do we criticise outside of its narrative?
It's gameplay.
Yeah,
let's talk about Logic Dive.
Yeah.
Logic Dive sucks.
Yeah, we didn't talk much.
We didn't talk about
no,
we didn't. No.
I kind of don't want to, but let's go through it really quickly. Non-stop debates came back. The Hangman Gambit is worse. We talked about that one last.
By the way, it's called Improved Hangman's Gambit, and it really isn't.
The Swordsman one is the.
I really don't like the Swordsman.
I don't like it in practice, but I love it in theory. I love the idea that somebody. Because it makes no sense that when Makoto said something in that first game, not one person would be like, hold on, no, I'm going to be stubborn about this. 2 introduces the people being stubborn about the case and they want to fight you with their own logic. Brilliant idea.
Yes, I agree.
Terrible execution. The music for it's fantastic, and I like the remix in V3 even more, that they add a flute to it.
Yes.
I think they're both really... I think it's a great song. Logic Dive, that's the one where you're skateboarding or surfing.
I think that is way too easy, which just removes all the challenge. So I'm just sitting there for 3 minutes doing nothing.
So we don't really think much of the minigames. We still like non-stop debates, to be fair, and that is the majority of it. So gameplay overall, thumbs up. But the all we can criticize is the narrative, and unfortunately, this is a game that goes 25, 30 hours.
Yes, it's a long game,
and we do like this game. We really do. It's just we're not blind to its flaws.
No, and unfortunately, for someone like me, I can love something and
criticize it.
Yeah,
I think that means if anything you like it.
Yeah, because I can have a healthy relationship where I can tell it what I think is wrong. But
I think blindly loving something's a bad thing.
Yes, same. And unfortunately, Chapter 6 of Danganronpa 2 is possibly one of the worst.
One of the worst endings
to a game I've ever played, and it really is. And I'm criticizing it because I'm so disappointed.
Worst chapter in the series, definitely.
Definitely. But I'm so disappointed. And that's what they decided to do. You spent all that time building up this great cast of characters, doing all this stuff, and that's how you end it. It's like, why? But as we said last time, the rest of the chapters hold up enough on their own that you can treat them as their own thing.
Even the ones we're not big on.
Yeah, you can treat them as their own thing to the point where Chapter 6 shouldn't affect your enjoyment too much unless you're really invested in the overarching story, which, to be fair, I wasn't, because I knew the overarching story in 1 wasn't so good, so I was prepared for the worst and I got it, so I was kind of like, that's fair. So... But I'd still recommend the first 2 games. Get them if you can.
Yeah, they usually come in a bundle.
Yes.
And in your opinion, get it over the trilogy so you don't have to play that third
one. Trilogy, why not?
Well, to be fair, that trilogy goes on sale way less.
Yeah, you're right. Isn't
it better to get the first 2 and then just the third game by itself when they both go on sale rather than that trilogy?
Yeah, because that's what I did actually. I got the 2 what's known as the Reloaded pack, which is what was released on the Vita, which is 1 and 2. And then there's also the Complete pack, which is the one that was released on the PS4, which has 1, 2, and 3. And I think it actually works out cheap if you buy the Reloaded pack and then buy the Complete pack, because the way Steam works out percentages is weird. So it actually works out cheaper to do it that way, I think.
Yeah, but that's been our talk on Danganronpa. As we say, the Rise. These are, at least in your opinion, the best 2 entries in the series.
I would probably also say probably one of my 2. Easily, I think 2 would probably make my top. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I was going to say 10. I'm going to say easily make my top 15 games.
That is great. That's good praise. I'm glad you think that.
Yeah, it was. And to be fair, it was one of those games that was a complete surprise to me. I don't care for visual novels. I didn't initially care too much for the stuff around it, but it really surprised me, and the dialogue was enough to pull me through. I think it's a testament to the game where I didn't care for any of its its components, but put them all together and I really like them.
Yeah. I think if you like these games, definitely stuff like, I think you'll enjoy stuff like Ace Attorney.
Well, as you know, I bought the Ace Attorney trilogy based on your recommendation, so that's on my list to play soon.
I always recommend people play Danganronpa first because Danganronpa's more handholdy than Ace Attorney is. I don't know
Ace Attorney is also rated lower, so it's more accessible, maybe.
Well, I don't know if Ace Attorney does this in the new ports, but unlike Danganronpa that checkpoints, Ace Attorney's hope you saved.
Yeah, Danganronpa's like, oh, you failed. Back to the last thing we said.
Ace Attorney's a lot more harsh with its thing because you only get you have a health bar of 5, and if you lose that, it's just last save.
Yeah.
So you unfortunately, you know how to play Ace Attorney. Saves coming. That is the way to play Ace Attorney.
Compare that to Danganronpa, which is apparently if you run out of health, everyone just thinks you've done it, but then the game goes, do you want to try again? And he just puts you back to the last line of dialogue. So there is no punishment in Danganronpa for failing.
Yeah, so that original trilogy of Ace Attorney, fantastic. Definitely, I think you'll enjoy it. If it's, I don't know if it counts as a VN, but if it does.
And that's available on
everything.
PC, Switch, I believe. I want to say it's on PS4.
Yes, it is.
Xbox, and on Xbox One. It's also available on mobile.
It's on
DS, Game Boy. It's on everything.
It's the most ported, one of the most ported game series of all time.
Yeah, so there is it.
It's in the top 10.
Yeah,
I know that.
You have no excuse to not play that.
Sonic 1 is as well.
Sonic 1 too. But the problem with Danganronpa is, unfortunately, it's either on PSP and Vita, which, well, no one has, or
it's on PS4.
It is on PS. No, but I'm talking more for handheld.
Oh yeah,
because the best way to play it is handheld.
Yeah,
there is no Switch port. There's no DS port.
So you're better off getting. So you can only really play on PC and PS4.
PC and PS4.
Jamie, you think you could run on a phone?
Yeah,
At least the first two.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen a few people do is actually use the Steam Link app or the PS4 Remote Play and just play it in bed using that.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, on your phone. But no, I mean, if you have a laptop lying around, just get it on there. I'm genuinely surprised it's not on like iOS or anything.
Nah.
Just they haven't ported it.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised it's not on Switch.
Yeah, same.
That is the perfect thing for that kind of game, but what can you do?
iPad too, you know.
iPad, yeah. You could easily put the first two games on a phone.
Yeah, easily.
The third one, maybe not so much. The Vita actually has some slowdown issues with the third game. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Compared to the PS4 version, anyway. I assume the PC version as well.
PC version's fine, yeah.
But in terms of Danganronpa overall, we're going to give those first two games a thumbs up. The next podcast is when we talk about Danganronpa. The next one won't be Danganronpa theme, but the next time we talk about Danganronpa, it'll definitely be more of a you'll be taking more of a prosecutor role, and I'll be taking more of a defendant with the third game. We're doing bad cop, good cop. No, well, I mean, I'm going to defend that. I like more things about that third game than you do, for sure. So I'll definitely. I'm gonna agree with you a lot, but there's going to be points where I'm like, oh, I do like. Because remember, at one point, I'm still unsure what I like more between, which maybe sound crazy to you. I'm still unsure what I like more between 2 and 3. So I'm probably going to have to do some reflection between podcasts.
Sure. And we're also going to be talking about Danganronpa 3, the cartoon. Anime,
don't worry. I won't be defending that one.
So initially, I wasn't going to bother with it at all, but I kind of got curious towards it.
It's the sequel to this.
It's the sequel to 2. So I was like, do I? Don't I? And I was like, do you know what? I might as well give it a go. And boy,
that's going to be interesting to talk about.
Is this is the Danganronpa I know and love.
I need to refresh my memory.
Here's my favourite part. Say I
need to refresh my memory on that one too, because the main things I remember about that is like the ending and like some of the dumb prequel stuff, but other than that,
the full show is available on Funimation now for free. So.
Yes. But I guess
that's how I'm watching
it. So I guess we'll end this podcast here. What are we talking about next week? I don't know.
You decide.
We'll decide. One of us will decide. Someone will decide.
We should probably talk about something different.
Yeah.
Let's talk about socio-economic crisis.